How much time are you wasting in decision making? And maybe you're telling yourself that you're just making sure you're making the right decision. But what if that's just a story, and what if that is costing you? Well, that's what we're going to discuss today in this episode of the Your Rich Life podcast. If you're ready, let's dive right in. Welcome back. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat that I'm a quick decision maker. I always have been. I think it comes from this thought that I hold that's like, why not? But I'm also a twin, and my twin is the polar opposite. I'm very Aries Leo, she's very Aries Virgo. She's an accountant, she's very logical, and it takes her forever to make a decision. And I mean, I'm not kidding you when I tell you before that she's phoned me from the supermarket to ask which type of bread she could buy. So I understand that there are people out there whose decision-making processes are very different to mine. And this episode isn't about saying that you're right or you're wrong. It's really about getting to the point where we're saying, where is decision making creating problems for you in your life, and how can I help you to make powerful decisions so that you can act on them? So I work with a lot of clients who are very busy. They're very much the determined and driven sort of alpha female type, but many of them come to me initially feeling very exhausted. And when we start to coach, they obviously go straight to, I'm so busy. And if you're running a business or you have a job and you're running a house and you've got kids and you've got family to look after and you're looking after your health and you're trying to nurture all your relationships, then I totally get that. Like, it's a lot to do in a day. They'll tell me they have lots of plates spinning. There's just so much to do, and that is why they believe they're exhausted. But there might also be another part of the picture, and that part of the picture is indecision. Your brain uses a lot of energy in decision making. That's why it's called decision fatigue. And apparently that is why Mark Zuckerberg wears the same outfit day in, day out, because it takes one more decision out of his day. And I believe there's other people that do that, particularly men. I don't know if us women would generally do that, but hey ho. So there are three reasons, I was thinking about this, there are three main reasons why I see my clients not making decisions and choosing to stay in indecision. Number one is their human need for certainty. Number two is that they don't trust themselves. And number three, FOMO. Like, what if the other choice would have been so much better? And then they get into that head talk. So I want to go through each of those in turn and just add a little bit more context to that to hopefully shift your perspective. Let's go to this human need for certainty. Now, if you've read about Tony Robbins' 6 human needs, we know there is certainty and there is uncertainty. And whilst we all want a bit of both, some of us are driven more by one than the other. So from my perspective, I get bored really quick. And I like that level of uncertainty. I like change. I'm curious about what could happen. But at the same time, this year, the last 6 weeks I've been quite unwell, has really presented me with an opportunity to look at, where am I holding on to certainty? So we'll go into that a little bit in a second. But anyway, we all have this human need for certainty. Now, when it comes to decision making, that's where it becomes the problem, because you can't create certainty in your brain, but you will try. And what you will try and do is you will, in your brain, think of every possible eventuality. So if I make this decision, what are the bajillion different things that can happen? Now, apart from the fact that there is no certainty in anything, and we'll touch on that in a second, just remember the film Sliding Doors. It isn't just if this happens that this will happen, because there's this interchange of energy throughout your decision making that impacts other people and other people impact you. So you can't even possibly think about every eventuality because you just don't know them. They've not even been created yet. So all the time you're in that place and you're trying to work out every which way it could happen, you're still choosing to be in that decision, trying to make a decision based on, when I've got all the eventualities out of my brain, I can make the decision. The only certainty you're actually getting from that place is in not making the decision, you continue to create the certainty of the comfort of exactly where you are. Now, you might be telling yourself, but I don't want that. I want to make the change. I want to lose the weight. I want to create, I want to leave my marriage. I want to grow my business. I want whatever it is. And I can talk about your brain because a lot of this is happening in your brain. It's not who you are. It's just levels of conditioning. It's just how your brain works. And so you know you want the different thing, but there is this real grounding in this need for certainty, and it's coming from your brain because it's a safety mechanism. Right now, the other thing that I want to talk about there as well is, actually no, I'll leave that and we'll talk about that in a second. So just knowing that you can't possibly know every eventuality and you can't create certainty in your brain. That's the first thing. Also, clarity doesn't come from your brain, it comes from taking action. Getting results, so making a decision, taking action, and then receiving the feedback, getting information, getting results, and evaluating those results to inform you about whether that was the best decision that you could have made. Now, the other one that we said, number 3, was that FOMO, so that fear of missing out. So why not think about this? Why not think that not everything has to be this or that? If FOMO is a massive issue for you, you can put effort into more than one thing at a time. Now, I don't want to promote the hustle mentality, but if it's stopping you from making a decision, you get to choose both, and you get to choose how you think and feel about that. Really, really simple. Now, I want you to notice as well that when you stay in indecision, you are choosing confusion and you are choosing uncertainty and you are choosing not to generate any results. Right? So you get no results to give you feedback about the decision. You're getting no results at all other than staying where you are and probably spiraling into more frustration and more despair. And maybe, depending on what you're working on, if it's finances, if relationships, if health, those things might actually get worse because you're not making the decision to make the change. And every day you're making that choice, and every day you're choosing exhaustion. Let me just have a sip of my brew. So I want you to think about now as well, just going back to the trying to create the certainty in your brain by looking at every eventuality. The answer to quick decision making, powerful decision making, is holding the thought for yourself that no matter what happens, no matter what outcome, you will be able to manage it. You have the control or the ability to manage and master your brain, your thoughts, and your emotions so that no matter what, it doesn't have to mean anything other than what's my next decision. And there's been quite a few times in my life where I had those things. I guess the first one for me that was really scary, well, there's a couple actually. When I was 19, all my friends went off to university. And I was like, didn't really want to do that. I really wanted to be a doctor when I was doing my A-levels at school, until I started to do A-level chemistry and realised I probably wasn't quite there in the brain department. And so I made the really difficult decision to go travelling, like on my own. Got on a plane, went to Australia, but there was a lot of fear there. And I think actually it was my stubborn streak. I was like, I'm not going to just stay here, and I'm not going to let people tell me that I can't do it. So I went. I guess the next biggest one after that was leaving my marriage. I had no idea how I was going to cope. I was going to be a single parent. I worked in a petrol station at the time, like for 12 hours a week. So I wasn't financially independent. My kids were only, I think, like 4 and 5. And it took me years, and I mean years, literally from before they were even born. It took me that long to leave the relationship because there was so much fear, and I wanted to know that everything was going to work out. And in that particular instance, the pain of being in the marriage was so bad that I would rather have had any other pain than that. I want to hopefully get you to a stage today where you don't have to wait for the pain to be so bad, because you're going to elevate the belief and the thought that you have in yourself about how you can manage whatever happens. Right, so just want to put that out there. When you're focusing on trying to work out all the inevitabilities, you're almost insinuating to yourself that you can't manage whatever happens, but you can, right? So when we have a look at that, when we have a look at decisions, I want you to recognize that your life is a direct reflection of the decisions that you make day in, day out, from what you have for your breakfast, to how you talk to your husband, to whether you sit on your phone when your children come home from school, to whether you do the workout, you sit in the ice bath, you get an early night. Like, all of your decisions are minute brushstrokes on the canvas of your life, and they are creating the depth and the feeling around those pictures. And I want you to understand that's why decisions are so powerful. I want you to understand that new decisions will automatically trigger a fear response in your brain, even if it's just you deciding not to have jam on toast, but instead to have a nice vegan protein shake with some hemp seeds in there, maybe a bit of spinach or whatever, right? Because your brain is going, they're making a different decision. That means we're going for change. Change is unsafe. Therefore, we will do whatever we need to do to make sure that they don't make that new decision. It's completely normal. It's nothing to do with you. It's not because you're broken or incapable or too stupid or whatever else you might tell yourself. It's just a natural human response, which is why for me, coaching is about teaching you how to use your brain and how to master your body energetically, like on a frequency level and on an anchoring level, to get the results that you want and break down that fear response. So this is the thing, like a lot of people think about like what's coaching all about. And I guess fundamentally coaching is about helping you to make decisions. It's my job to help you get your brain to the place where you make decisions quickly, even if they're difficult, or especially when they're difficult, and make sure that those decisions align with the results that you want in the future and not the beliefs and the fears that you have now. Because if you're making decisions based on the beliefs and the fears that you have now, the circumstances that you're in, the experiences that you've had in your past, you can never create a different result. We have to create decisions from possibility. We have to create decisions from courage. We have to create decisions from knowing, like in our guts, knowing that there is a different outcome for us, a different body, a different relationship, a different bank account, a different life experience is available from making different decisions. And once you've made those decisions, my job as your coach is to help you stay consistent in delivering on those decisions through the really shitty days and the good days. It's about keeping you in these, what I call the high frequency cycles. So like the way that you're showing up on a frequency, keeping you in those high frequency cycles and behaviors. And now it's your turn to make a decision about your future, the different decisions that you must make in order not just to create different results in your life, but to feel certain, to feel energized, and to feel aligned whilst you create them. Now, I think I might have got a little bit slack over the last couple of episodes in giving you homework. So we're back on it. It's up to you if you do it or not. I try and keep it as simple as I can. But there is plenty of information out there. You could get information on anything across the social media platforms, or a bit of Googly or a bit of YouTube, whatever, or the TikTok. But it makes no difference if you're not implementing it. And I want to encourage you to think about any tiny step done every day is way better than something big done once a week, right? So your homework is very simple. You're going to write down, or you can do this in your head if you want, but getting clear in your head what the decision is, the biggest decision that you're struggling most to make. Is that right? You're struggling most. You know what I mean? You're struggling the most with this particular decision. And then I want you to write down no more than 2 or 3 options, because you've probably given yourself 200. Give 2 to 3 options. What is one way that I could manage this? What's another way? What's another way? Pick one without letting your brain talk you out of it. Just pick one. I don't care if you use a dowsing crystal, whether you do body swaying, or whether you get your next door neighbor to pick it. Just pick one. And then immediately, the minute you've picked it, immediately choose, find, confirm the first step and do it right away. Then keep doing that. Just keep taking the next step and the next step and the next step. And eventually you will have enough data come back at you to let you know whether the decision was right. Without going into detail on that one, it's going to take some time. And it's going to take some time to get your brain to buy into the decision even after you've made it, and that's okay. Now, to help you do that, I cannot tell you enough how much the workbook that I've got available to you will help you do this. Like, it's not a massive workbook, it's one sheet. But I've given you an explanation of, like, at the moment, you're running a decision strategy that is not working. The workbook is going to help you manage your thoughts and your emotions around every single thing in your life so that you can create every single result you've ever wanted. The workbook's completely free. I've given you literally every step that you need, including a tiny 10-minute video to walk you through it. So please make sure that you grab that from the link below. Now, if you want to get results in any area of your life more quickly and without hustle or burnout, you can work me one-to-one. All you've got to do is click the consultation link below. It's completely free. We'll hop on a call. We'll find out where you are, where you want to go, and I'll give you literally a prescription about what it's going to take for you to go from point A to point B. Simple as that. Okay, thank you for joining me on this very exciting episode, and I'll speak to you again next week. Bye for now.